Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I thought I would record a WIP Chat today because I actually have some time on my hands. I just learned about 2 hours ago I don't have to travel tomorrow. Yay! I hate traveling and I have to do it every Tuesday for the job. I also learned it might change to Monday now and to Monday afternoon actually, which I kind of like because it's a you know, if the world were normal, it would be a 2-hour journey. The world is very much not normal. So I usually have to plan around 3 hours one way to make it through traffic in time. The meeting I'm required for starts at 10:30 in the morning. So usually by 6 in the morning I'm in my car and on the way, which is not fun at all because I'm a lot of things. I'm not an early bird. I'm very much a night owl, and 6 o'clock in the morning is not my time whatsoever. It also means I have to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning, which is even less my time. So now they told me they might change it to Mondays and the meeting won't start before 2 p.m. Which might sound bad, but actually, you know, I can start way later and can avoid most of the traffic, so traveling will probably take much less as well. And yeah, my travel home will be later as well too, because usually I would return back home at 3 p.m. That would probably move to, well, something like 6 p.m. But then again, it might bring down the time I actually spend on the road, because most of the traffic will be gone once I hit the sore spots, so to speak. But anyway, long story short, I learned that I don't have to travel tomorrow, and that means I can stay up longer, I can craft longer, and it means I can spend now maybe an hour with you in a WIP Chat. And I decided, because I somehow managed to get my stuff together and finish a couple of things over the weekend, one which I wasn't very much interested in, and a couple of paintings I was very interested in. And I thought, well, let's keep the momentum up and work on this horrible Evershine square. Well, I guess it's not super horrible. The Huracan one was much worse, but it's also not very fun because the drills are actually very tight, and here is a popping drill. Hate it. Hate it so much. But it's one of my coffee cats. Let me give you a sneak peek on the image. That's one of the 5 coffee cats I have. 3 are from Home Fun Official or the Anna store. 1 is from a store I'm not going even to try to pronounce. And the 5th one here now is from Evershine. I haven't seen this particular cat from any other store so far. So I thought, well, you know what, I was going to test this anyway, so let's be very, very brave and get it in the 30 by 40 like the rest of your coffee cats and try to soldier through. And you know, it's not as bad as the Huracan, like I said. When we have this section here finished, it's actually 1/3 done. And I hope I can do quite a bit of it with you today. So, something I wanted to show you, what I got in the mail last week. I got my very first handmade drill pen. It's actually not from the Handmade Drill Pen Facebook group. It's from another much lesser known Facebook group. I'm going to link it in the description below. This is such a beautiful blank. I don't know if you can see it, but it doesn't just have these purple spots that come out as triangles at some points and as very flowing shapes on the other. It also has a peacock greenish blue in it and some very fine golden lines, which you probably can't see at all. Yeah. Sad thing, I got it and it was broken in half here. You can probably see if I move it that it's actually not in one piece any longer. So I put a band-aid on it and I can work with it, but the the nice guy who actually makes these pens, his name is Bill. I sent him the picture and it took him exactly 1 minute to reply to me and say, I'll make you another one, don't worry. And that was at 12 p.m. my time, and he's in Seattle, so I think that was something like 5 or maybe 4 a.m. for him. So I did expect a lot of things, but not a reply right away. Anyway, I wanted to show you that because I'm so in love with it. He does make other shapes as well, so you don't have to get this shape, though I think that's the one he started out with, and it's actually quite comfortable to work with. I'm currently waiting on a lot of these pens from 3 more groups, and one of them is Handmade Diamond Painting Pens, I believe is what it's called. Oh dear, the door. Sorry about that. That was my neighbor's daughter, who actually is blind. No, she's not. But I signed for one of her packages today, and she's still going to school, so I left it outside my door so she wouldn't have to ring while I was working, probably being on the phone. Yeah, she didn't notice the gigantic box. And she rang anyway. At least I'm no longer working, I'm just trying to make a WIP Chat. So yeah, like I said, I'm waiting for quite a few from these pens. I got 2 from Handmade Diamond Painting Pens. I got 3, I think, from Sadie's group, and I got another 2 from J&L Diamond Painting Pens, I believe. But I will show them whenever they come in. I hope they will be in one piece, because this was really devastating to unbox, believe me. I was kind of glad that I decided on a whim not to record it, because I would have been a very sad girl on camera. But anyway, let's get this started, or we will never do a single drill on this. Which is the first color? That would be 2. So for these paintings, I tend to work out of the bags. I'm not a huge fan of that, to be honest, because it's all floppy, and I prefer to have proper storage, you could say. This is a bit of a weird angle for me to work on this, but I don't want to put my big head into the viewfinder. So let's see how that goes. Also for this painting, I'm putting every single drill down by its own. I'm not going to use a multi-placer. This is going to make the popping so much worse if I do. And I actually want to finish this one because it's supposed to be part of my collection of coffee cats. And I still intend to put them up in my kitchen. Though I think I'm starting to run out of space. I don't know. I actually haven't told the man yet that I intend to put these up in the kitchen, but usually he doesn't care about the stuff I want to do. He's very good at accepting me the way I am. And talking about the man, I would like to thank you very much for all your nice responses to my last WIP Chat I made, where I was really going on about his family and how much they are going on my nerves with their strange way of not accepting people the way they are. There is actually a bit of an update on that too. Today was my first day of work, and like I said, I was going to tell my new boss, who gave me a new project a few days before I went on vacation, that she probably forgot she also approved my vacation for June. And lo and behold, she had. And she basically told me, you know, if you hadn't told me, we would have managed somehow, but of course I would prefer if you would not go on vacation in June. You can go in July, you can go in August, but please not in June, because this project, it's actually going to kick off tomorrow, and it's due end of June. And if you look at your calendars, you see that this is not a lot of time. And May and June are actually 2 months here in Germany where we have a lot of public holidays. Usually always only one day, but it's one day out of your working week, and standard office working week here is Monday to Friday. Usually people who work in offices don't work Saturdays any longer. That stopped somewhat time around the time I was a kid. So manufacturing and stuff like that might still do it, but office, no. We are done by the time Friday afternoon comes around. And if you have only 5 days and one of them is a public holiday, it really cuts into your time. For example, this week, May 1st, is a public holiday. Last week, Easter Monday is a public holiday in Germany. Good Friday, of course, but I think Good Friday is a public holiday pretty much everywhere that is Christian. So that's nothing special, but Easter Monday seems to be. And then we have, I think, at least 2 more in May and 2 more in June. So pretty much every other week there's a public holiday in there. And the move has to happen around mid-June, so everything that needs to be dealt with, it's an office move project I'm doing, everything that needs to be dealt with after the physical move needs to be done in the last 2 weeks of June. Yeah, so I am out of this family vacation thing because I can't get the time off now. And I'm super, super sad about that, as you can imagine. On the other hand, the man should really reconsider if he really wants to spend even more money on this thing. I mean, he doesn't get out of the hole. He has to take half the cost for the house. That was agreed upon, and I'm actually not saying tell your sister you're not going to pay for that, because that would be an a-hole move. But he just got some very bad news concerning his car. He pretty much scratched up the side of his car a few months ago when he tried to get out of our garage, misjudged the distance to the wall, and yeah, it's a lot of damage to the left side of his car. And he put off having it fixed for several months now. I told him from the beginning, don't do that. That's a very bad idea. The longer you wait, the more, the higher the chance will be that it's going to start to rust, because his car actually needs to be parked outside. I'm using the spot in the garage because his car is too big for that spot. And I have a much smaller car, so that's why I get the premium parking here. And his car is outside because it's impossible for us to get a second spot in the garage. So yeah, he was temporarily using the spot of our neighbor. She always lets us know when she is out for a few weeks and lets us use her parking spot during that time, which is very nice of her. But most of my neighbors actually are very nice, except for that one father with his 2 daughters I was just talking about. They are very loud. I've never experienced anyone this loud in this house before. And I think most of our neighbors are actually completely lost on how to deal with that, because they are not used to that either. This is an apartment house with 9 apartments in it. And out of the 9, 7 are apartments where the actual apartment owner is living in. Most apartment buildings are pretty much rented out completely because people just buy the apartments to have some sort of financial investment going on, probably to save on taxes, I don't know. But this house is quite different. A lot of people who own actually also live in it. So boyfriend and I and the new annoying neighbor are actually the only 2 that are renters. And I am very well loved in this house for one reason, I guess, because I sign for most of the packages that my neighbors receive in this house. I'm jokingly referring to myself as the package depot in this house, which is very true because I work a lot from home. And I'm always there. And all the delivery services know that by now. Even the ones that don't come here very often. So we have about 5 or 6 different ones. 2 of which are here constantly, and another few that are here from time to time. But even those know by now that I am the one neighbor who is most likely home. And sometimes my hallway just looks ridiculous. I've had mountains of packages so high. they reached up to my chest. and the hallway is not tiny, but it's not made for this kind of stuff. So I basically have to navigate mountains of packages to get in my bathroom. Keep your fingers crossed that you don't get the runs on such days. Anyway, where was I going with that? Yeah, I was basically telling him, you know, you should really tell your family, I'm sorry, Heike can't go anyway. She won't get vacation time during this because she got a new project week before Easter, and I can't afford it any longer. I will have to eat water and bread because I already said I was going to pay for half of it, and I have to get my car fixed, which is now a whopping deal of 2,000 euros. Can you imagine? Because like I told him before I was going on my tangent, he should have had it fixed right away. If you scratch up your paint job, and it's really just the paint job, the fix is expensive, but it's not going to kill you financially if you do it right away, because they can just smooth it out a little bit and paint over it, and no one would be the wiser. But what he did was just ignore it, and he's parking outside, so the weather did what it does, and now some parts of the scratches are rusting because it got beneath the paint. It got deep enough that the metal was showing through, which I told him. And yeah, so now because it's rusting, they have to get the whole paint job off. They have to do something to the metal to stop the rusting, and then it has to be repainted, and that is according to his regular shop, 2,000 freaking euros. Yeah. As you can imagine, he was ecstatic about that. But it's his own fault. He has no one else to blame for this, but it would be his get free out of jail card, in my opinion, telling them I can't afford it, and you know, she can't go anyway, so have fun, but we are out of it. He's not going to do it. When I tell him later that I am now officially not getting the time off because of the project deadline, he will probably still go on his own. But I really can't help him anymore. He has to grow up. He has to say, I'm sorry, I don't want this. I never wanted it, and I'm not going to do it. And I know he's not going to do that. But maybe next time someone has such an idiotic idea, he will maybe say before his parents are actually aware of what's going on that he has no interest whatsoever to do this. If not, he will be on his own again, because next time I am telling them I have no interest whatsoever in doing that. I will hold back and not say because you're a-holes, even though I want to do that. But yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about this any longer because I already talked about this for an hour. And now over an hour. It's just painful. On the other topic I mentioned, once again, thank you so much for your feedback. You can probably guess I still haven't done anything about that, but you are right, I have to. I'm noticing that things are getting worse. I even now have problems to get out of bed sometimes. It's not as bad that I say, okay, I'm not going to get up all day. Gluck, not tongue. I've already filmed a couple of videos today, so I guess my English language center in my brain is starting to switch off more than it usually does. Yeah, but I've noticed that I really have problems motivating myself even to do my hobbies. That might sound strange because you see me do a lot of diamond painting, and you see that I'm not just buying and storing them, I'm actually doing them by my WIP Chats. And this week I actually have 2 final reviews for you as well. But this is pretty much the only thing I'm doing right now. So last Friday I actually had another card due for my card challenge design team. I completely ignored it. I ignored the WhatsApp group we have, and our fearless leader sent the reminder telling us that we had to remember we had to have a card for Friday, and it would even have been an easy card. I just didn't want to do it, so I pretty much ignored that. And I guess if you start just ignoring stuff, that's also a bad sign. Yeah, so I'm seeing the signs, and I'm seeing the stuff I don't like, and I'm seeing the stuff I saw in him partially. I mean, he was much worse, let's be honest, but I'm seeing some of it, and it's worrying me. So you are right, I have to do something. It's just such a strange thing to do, you know, because I'm always afraid that I'm not taken seriously if I talk about things like that, especially if people see me while I do it, because I have this very stupid defense mechanism that I just pretend to be happy all the time, and I still do it. So if I would be talking with you face to face, I would smile at you constantly, and I guess I would appear very lighthearted, and yeah, I don't know if you would actually notice something, because I'm usually not letting people see that stuff. And I guess when I started with that, this was actually my true default setting. I was okay with everything around me in my life, and yep, not much to complain about, going strong. But right now it feels fake. It probably is to a certain extent, and it isn't to another. Another thing I love about these stupid drills, they quite often won't let themselves be picked up with a pen. So yeah, I know I have to approach the subject, but I'm still unsure on how to, and I'm still afraid he will look at me and say, "What is your problem, woman?" Probably he won't, but that's the fear I have. But I'm going to do it. I just don't know when. So yeah. On a much sadder note, I got a text from my mom earlier today, and she told me that my grandmother's friend, one of the last ones who was still alive, passed away on Saturday. And yeah, this is super sad. She was there for her 90th birthday party, and it was so great to see the two of them together having fun. She was actually, you know, my grandmother doesn't drink alcohol. She never drank much, and that old lady was the kind who drank some kind of hard liquor every single day. Not much of it, but one of these tiny bottles. I don't know if you know them in the US, but the Europeans should do. They are really tiny. They are only, there isn't even an ounce of fluid in there. So it's what we call a 2cl, which is centiliter. It basically means 20 milliliters. And she would drink one of those, I guess, after lunch. So she was a fun woman. But she passed away on Saturday. She was also very old. I mean, my grandmother turned 90 last year, and I think she was right up there. She was either 90 herself or very close. So I guess, yeah. It's just how the world goes. But now her daughter, I think, is going to visit my grandmother tomorrow and is going to break the news to her. She will be fine, but I guess this will bring another, at least small bout of depression for her as well. I can't imagine that it's easy to be the one still around when everyone else is slowly starting to go away, basically. I mean, she is already the oldest of all her siblings. Even the ones who already passed away never reached 90. Her 84-year-old sister died the day after her 90th birthday, and now only 2 of them are still left. The youngest and one somewhere in between. I don't know which one of the many she is. And all of her friends are pretty much gone. I think Amy was the last one she still had. I mean, she is no longer home, and she could no longer see her like she used to anyway, but it's still hard to know that everyone around you is dying or has died and you are still there. On the other hand, I'm kind of glad she is, because when I was a kid I always thought she would be not around much, because my grandma actually has this not so nice habit to pretend she's sicker than she is. She's actually, if you look at her physical state, a very healthy woman. Because the fact that she broke her leg was not a good thing, and we know that she will never be able to walk again like she used to before that happened. Her physical therapist told us that his goal is to get her out of the wheelchair so that she can at least use a walking aid to walk again on her own. But to be quite honest with you, it's very honorable of him, but I don't think that they will manage. As you know, the boyfriend is a physical therapist and he agrees with that. She wasn't walking a whole lot before this all happened, by choice, not because she couldn't. She just decided one day she didn't want to walk anymore. So she wasn't in the best condition anyway as far as walking goes. And then this happened, and it happened in October. We are now 6 months along and she is walking. She is giving her best when she has physical therapy. But someone like her would need daily physical therapy for month and month to reverse what was destroyed, basically. And physical therapy is something doctors are still very bad at of prescribing. It has to be a prescription. Well, you can pay for yourself, of course, but all of her funds, every single euro goes into paying for her room in this home she is now. And my parents and their siblings actually have to substitute that on top of that, so it's extremely expensive. So there are no funds to pay for additional physical therapy. So the boyfriend and I, we agree that she probably will never leave the wheelchair behind anymore. Yeah, it's age. She is 90 and a half now. I guess you just can't ask for a miracle in that age under the conditions that are given here now. Hi, kitty. Do you want to jump in? Please don't topple over the mic. Thank you. So yeah. So maybe you have wondered, because I have hinted at that, what has happened. The cat wants on the lap. So let's turn this into a bit of a cuddle and chat. Say hello to the cat. Hi, kitty. So what happened in October? Mid-October, she had her 90th birthday. which I think was a very nice day for her. And then at the end of October, I got a very frantic phone call from my mom telling me that she had fallen, which has happened quite a bit in the last few years, and it looked like she had actually broken her leg. That turned out to be true. She broke her femur bone in her right leg. We, of course, had to bring her to the hospital. They had to wait. The bone was basically shattered. The x-ray looked crazy beyond belief. It looked like someone had taken a baseball bat to her leg. And nothing like that happened. She basically told me she bent down to get a box of yarn, which was stored underneath a small coffee table because she crochets a lot, and then her bone just gave out and she fell. So it shattered into I don't know how many pieces. So on the first day, the doctors weren't sure how to fix that. And they also had to wait for her blood thinners to leave her system. They didn't want to give the antidote to these blood thinners, so to reverse the effect. But as the name says, these pills thin out the blood. And if you cut someone open with that still in their system, they are going to bleed out on your table faster than you can say, oh shit. So yeah, they waited, I think they waited nearly 3 days. And then they finally operated, and they put so many metal in this leg. It was just crazy. Yeah. And then it took ages and ages and ages for the bone to knit back together. It took much longer than it would take a young person. Much, 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 much longer. Which I guess is also not very surprising for a 90-year-old woman. She does not have issues with bone density or multiple sclerosis or anything like that. So we don't know why this bone broke. It just did. Yeah. So we had a problem then. The hospital wanted to release her. They couldn't do anything for her anymore, and they needed the bed bag. And we knew she couldn't go home. All of her kids are up in age already as well. So the youngest one is, I think, 57 now, and my mother is the second youngest. She turned 60 a few days ago, or like 2 weeks ago. And all of them have issues with their own bodies. One is basically completely disabled now due to all the back surgeries he's had 30-something years ago, when they were still very trigger happy about operating on your back. To have, I think it's to have serious hip issues. That's something that ran in my grandfather's family, and he passed on to them. So they have, from birth, they had hip displacement, and my godmother actually got her hip replaced just before this stupid, I don't know, do you call it accident, happened. So she was completely out during that time. And the twins both have issues with their backs as well, and one of them actually had colon cancer, and even though he is cured now, you just don't bounce fully back from that anyway. My mother just had her, what looks like her fourth, I think, herniated disc. We are still waiting for an appointment for an MRI for her. Yeah, so none of them is able to actually take care of her at home, even if you don't consider that her home is not fit for taking care of someone who can't get on their own on the toilet and stuff like that. Her house is from 1870. It's super it's extremely old. It has low ceilings. In the beginning, there was, of course, no bathroom in that house. They put it in after they moved in the 60s sometime, and they actually put it underneath the stairs. So yeah, it's just impossible to take care of her in that house, and none of the kids could do it anyway. So we had to make the decision to move her from the hospital into the home. And then you have the next problem, finding a free room in a home for the elderly people on a whim. Yeah, we managed, but it was not a nice place to stay. I visited her for the first time on the first, I think it was the first Advent Sunday. So that first weekend in December. And I still remember I stepped out of the elevator, and the first thing that hit me was this awful, awful smell of urine. This is just horrible. Later on, we learned why that is, because they take crappy care of the people in there. And because she couldn't walk and was in a wheelchair, they actually put her on the floor with basically the people who can't leave their beds on their own any longer. Which also meant there wasn't much of activity going on this floor. She was in a room all day on her own whenever no one was visiting her. And as you can imagine, you can't be there constantly. The food was horrible. The care was horrible. There was one nurse in there who was very, very great and loved her very much. And oh God, he cried so much when we finally pulled her out of that home. He has visited her in the new home since. So yeah, this was not a good situation. So she moved into this home, I think it was mid-November. Oh, is life so hard? Don't know if you heard that. That was all the weight of the world. And we were finally able to relocate her on my cousin's birthday, which was January 25th. We were lucky enough that we had some connections and got on the wait list for a much better home, a much smaller one. And of course it's very sad, but right at the beginning of the year, 2 of the people living there died, which freed up 2 rooms. And they called us and told us, we have 2 rooms. You can come around, have a look, tell us which one you would like to have for your mom, and then we can relocate her. And yeah, that's what my mother did. And she has been relocated since January 25th, and now she is much, much happier. I visited her when I went and picked up my car on March 21st. Only had a few minutes to visit her on that day because everything was just so tight and there wasn't time for anything, but I wanted to see her. If I was up there, I wanted to see her. And she was much happier. They have this, it's actually a former Catholic priest who is now no longer allowed to have his own, I think congregation is the word, because he decided he wanted to marry and have kids, so that's what he did. And as you know, they are not allowed to practice any longer afterwards. Do you say practice? I don't know. But he's still allowed to be basically, I don't know what you call that. So he's actually holding church in this home, but he's not allowed to wear the traditional wear for this, and he's not allowed to call himself a priest any longer. I think he calls himself a pastor now. And he's doing a lot of activities with the people in that home. So he's planning games and story time and singing, and there's also gymnastics, and they do crafting, though my grandmother doesn't do that because she when my mother was born that year, she had an accident where she nearly lost her right hand. So it was nearly completely severed off. And yeah, that was in 1960. So you can imagine surgery wasn't the best. But they did reattach it. She didn't lose the hand. She just lost, I would say, about 90% of the motor skills in that hand. And she is right-handed. But she still managed to get enough back to do amazing crochet work. So remind me to show you some at some point, because it's just amazing. And she could write and everything, but after the accident, no one really took care of her hand, and things have gotten a lot worse now. So her physical therapist now, he takes care of it too, even though he doesn't have any prescription to do so. But she can't do the crafting stuff they do. I mean, I told her when I was there on Easter, you don't have to do what the others are doing. You can take your crochet and you can sit with them and they can do whatever they do, if it's painting or whatever, and you crochet. It's just about being with the others and enjoying the time and getting time in with the others. And what's really nice to see is that everyone there actually loves her so much, because most of the time she's a very nice person. Of course she has cranky days, and God, can she get cranky. But most of the time she is a very nice, pleasant person, and she's never awful to other people, especially not the nurses. The nurses in these homes, they can get a lot of grief, both from people living there and their relatives. But she is not one of those, and that's why pretty much everyone usually loves her. And yeah. Oh, and she has been crocheting the heck out of she does tablecloth thingies. So I have some very big tablecloth from her, and she does smaller ones to put on sideboards and stuff like that. You have to like that. I know that my mom thought I was crazy when I told her, I want some of them. Can you make some for me? Because my living room is what I call Swedish shabby chic, because it's all IKEA, except for the couch. Everything in there is IKEA. Well, and the rugs, but all my stuff is IKEA. And I thought this would actually fit, and I like it. It's a bit old-fashioned, but I like it, and it's something of hers I'll treasure forever. Anyway, she also does other stuff, of course. She doesn't crochet these things all the time. She does small animals. It's not as professional looking as the stuff that you can see. I forgot the word. It's a Japanese word, how you call these little crocheted animals, amigurumi or something like that. I really can't remember. She does that. It just doesn't look like that because she uses different wool, and yeah, it looks a lot cheaper. And when I visited her in March, I actually brought her a crochet magazine I had seen in the supermarket and gone for her. And there were some things in there she jumped on right away, like little covers for eggs. If you put an egg in one of these little egg holders, and then you can put a cover on it to keep it warm. She did a ton of those before Easter. She did a ton of these little animals, especially cats, because everyone wanted a cat. And now she is currently doing minions. Because she did a couple of minions for me for whatever reason, I don't know. And I think the neighbor's daughter, my parents' neighbor's daughter, she got a bunch of unicorns from her, and she asked if she could actually do minions. And my mom said, yeah, sure, she has done them in the past. She showed my grandmother, because she couldn't remember what the heck a minion was. She showed her the picture of what she did for me. And ever since then, she has been crocheting minions, because everyone who sees these stupid things wants a minion now. So yeah, let's see what she's up to next. But she's much happier now, and this former priest is actually a big reason of that. I think my grandmother is actually the only true religious person in my immediate family. My father for sure isn't. My mother, yeah, I'm not sure if she actually believes or not. She's always very shocked when I tell her that I don't believe that stuff at all. I don't. I'm sorry if that offends anyone, but I don't want to talk you out of that. I just want to say I don't believe it, and I never have. Even as a kid, I haven't. So she is, and it's important to her, and I think she enjoys that she can have actual church. You know, she watched it on TV, but that's just not the same. So she can have that now. She loves the interaction with this guy. She discovered her love for bingo. So she is the resident bingo queen now. Yay. So yeah, this is actually nice. I think the nicest thing was usually on pictures, she always looks very grim. But when I was there on Easter, we had such gorgeous weather, and we baked a cake and went there with our freshly baked strawberry cake. And we told her, you know what, we are not going to sit in here. It's very warm outside. It's super sunny. We are going outside. And at some point, I wanted to take a picture of her, and she was looking all grumpy cat again. It's just her resting face. And I told her, Grandma, please, one smile, just one smile. And she actually did smile, and it's such a beautiful picture. And I'm so happy that I could take that one. So yeah. And when we left again, and my mother went there the next time, she actually told my mom, you know what, that was really a good day, and I really enjoyed that. So I have to see that we have to go there more often. We usually don't go there very often because it's a long drive, and we don't like to leave these gritters here alone for too long. Actually, my hand is falling asleep right now, and it's changing colors, if you can see. I know my hands always look weird. It's a skin condition I have. But it's starting to look very dead right now, at least to me on the screen it does. It's because it's falling asleep. She has her whole weight on this arm. So pins and needles for me. And we don't like to leave them alone too long. We have this one neighbor now who just loves to take care of them, so I guess we will take her up on that more often from now on, and try to get there for a whole weekend and yeah, visit, because I really don't want to regret anything in the end. And I've regretted in the last few years that we couldn't visit as often as we used to. Because before we moved down here, we were always in a 1 hour driving distance to her, and this is easily done. You can just decide, you know what, we are going to get up tomorrow morning into the car, visit for the day, and go back home again, or maybe we even stay the night. It doesn't matter. But now it is officially a 3 hour drive, but it is usually much more. I pestered poor Rachel last 2 times actually. We went up there and sent her pictures of the traffic jams and stuff like that. I'm sorry, Rachel, you're just the only one I can talk to during these drives because I don't have anyone else on Messenger. So if I annoy you, just tell me. Anyway, Kitty, I'm not getting any work done. I'm just talking. Yeah, she doesn't give a flying monkey. Sorry, guys, but you are here to listen anyway, yeah? I hope so. So yeah, that was actually the nice part of Easter, and I hope we can repeat that a lot in the future. It's just if you move away from your family for whatever reason, it makes things so much harder. And I still have a grandmother. Oh, are you done? Are you done? No human, I'm not done. Okay. Yeah, I still have a grandmother, and yeah, we are done. Okay, we are done. Okay. Ah, it's alive. And I don't want to get the call one day and then think, oh, I wish I had visited her more. Because, you know, the what if and I wish game. Yeah, let's not go there. Hi guys, so I lost quite a bit of footage on my last WIP Chat I did. I still think that my camera overheated. I have now pulled it out of my phone case. I usually left it in there, but I noticed that it got very hot, especially for the longer videos, so I guess it's a no-brainer to just try and take it out there and see if any problems occur. So I think I lost about 10 minutes of this WIP Chat, and instead of trying to ramble whatever I was going on, it was probably quite depressing anyway, because I was talking about losing loved ones and making the best of the time you have and carpe diem and all that fun stuff. I'm not going to try to. I thought I would add a little bit of a show and tell at the end of this WIP Chat instead, and show you first the damaged canvases we had in the last few days and how they are, oh, I guess weeks, let's say last few weeks, and see how they are doing now, because they have been under my mattress for a few days, or this one here, I think a week and a half maybe. I can't remember when I unboxed it, but they are looking much better already. That's the beauty of canvases that actually come with poured glue and not the double-sided tape, because if they have issues, they are usually very much solvable. So we have this, and I'm sorry I'm holding the phone with my hand right now. I'm trying not to shake too badly, and I hope I'm not keeping the mic covered. Yes, I'm actually on my little step stool, so I can show you the whole thing. It is pretty flat compared to what it used to be. I've turned it on its back as well and have checked, and I can no longer see the impression of the toolkit, which you might remember was very prominent at the beginning. So I'm quite happy how this one turned out. It's still freaking huge, and it's going to take me a lot of time to do, but at least now I have something to look forward to. Also, I replaced the original cover that came with this painting. It came with a clear cover, but it was the very thin one that New Frog, for example, also uses. And I struggled with that thing and never could get it on straight. And I thought, before I put it under my bed with creases and folds in the cover to really press them in there, I'm going to take a few Diamond Art Club covers I still had left over, because I keep them, I don't cut them, and replace that. So that worked out pretty fine. Let's see how we managed to get this off. That is my floor. And then we had our Tinmy Arts canvases, and you know, I've only unboxed them very recently. Let me change that once again. And yes, we have a cat here. So, and as you remember, these boxes were super squished as well, and the canvases were quite crumbled. I mean, you can still see that. It's not like taking an iron to it or a cat and completely flattening the stuff out, but it is pretty flat. And I think we wouldn't have any issues working on this now at all. Same for the tulips. It is a bit crumbly because this is some kind of cotton. Yeah. And it's beautiful to lie on, isn't it? Yeah. My little movie star. So I wanted to show this to you. Alright, let's try this again. I filmed it all in one go, but it was just too shaky. The cat was in the middle of it all, trying to pull threads out of these And yeah, it was just a mess. I probably would have made you sick. So what I was going to show in the second part was actually the stuff my grandmother does. I told you about with her disability with her hand, which is pretty much useless, and she still is able to do crochet with it because it's still her dominant hand, and she never relearned to become a left-handed person. As I mentioned before, she had an accident when my mother was not even a year old. She nearly got her hand completely cut off. It was basically literally just hanging on by a thread, and they reattached it, and that was 59 plus years ago, so nearly 60 years ago. You can imagine that surgery was a huge success for the time, but yeah, nothing compared to what they could do today. Still, she is able to do amazing stuff, and she does these tablecloths. They're usually not in the size you see here. This is a 90 by 90 centimeters, which is really big, but I asked her to because I wanted it to fit on my table like that. And like I said, my mother was very surprised that I wanted it because it is a bit old-fashioned, but I actually like this look. It reminds me of Nordic shabby chic, and maybe the Nordic people will disagree, I don't know, but it reminds me of that, and I think it actually fits my furniture quite well, because as I mentioned, my whole living room is basically IKEA. This table is IKEA, these shelves are IKEA. Say hi to my Diamond Art Club stash on the IKEA. So basically anything in here is IKEA. And I choose this dining table set specifically because it reminded me of shabby chic. So what she does these borders around these tablecloths, and no two ones of them are the same. Every single one looks different. And this is the first one I asked for, the initial one, and I think it turned out very well. So please don't mind the folds and crinkles. It needs to be ironed, of course, when you want to put it on the table, but I just pulled it out of storage right now to show you. So this is number one. Be back in a moment. And we are back. So this is number two. It is one of these long ones that can cover the whole table in its length. Actually, this is supposed to hang off, but I put it on the table to show you what it looks like at the ends. And this was another one I asked her to do, and she grumbled quite a bit about it because this was a real challenge. It's also pretty expensive, I have to admit that, because usually these fabrics are only 1 meter and 40, and then you can get them in whatever length you want. So she basically had to get, I think it's 1.60 meters, and that's in length. And this was quite a bit of money she put into that. But on the other hand, I told her I was going to pay for that. And you know, like grandmothers are, no, child, don't do that. So yeah. It's also a challenge because I think she said she needed 1.5 hours for each row she did on this. She's very fast when she does her crochet. And 1.5 hours, I think, is scandalously long for her. But this one is actually very nice if you want to keep it on the table when you have it fully decked out for some kind of holiday or whatever, because you can actually put your decorations in the middle and have all the other stuff, the dishes, the cups and stuff like that, not touching it, because the boyfriend is actually quite good in putting stains and everything that's longer out of the cupboard than 5 minutes. So yeah, so that's my long one, and I love this one. She refused to do this for anyone else. This is another one that is, I think this is just 80 centimeters square. And it's one I did not ask for. She made that for me all on her own. It's a Christmas design. I think this is actually this Christmas star flower. I know the word, I just don't know how to say it. Poinsettia? Something like that. And she used a yarn that has some gold in it for it. And she gave that for me for my Christmas decoration, basically. And it's another one that's very, very pretty and very unique, because she, like I said, doesn't redo anything exactly the same way once she has done something. So this goes up every Christmas time. And like I said, she refused to do anything like this for anyone else ever again, but she made a shorter one, so this one just covers most of my table. So it's one of these 140 strips. And she did this as well as a Christmas blanket, because this is with silver this time around in the fabric and in the crocheted part as well. I have to admit, I have not used this one yet, because this is silver and I feel it doesn't really fit. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just, you know, a few years ago I wouldn't touch gold with a 10-foot pole. Now I like it. So maybe in a few years I will reverse back to silver. Who knows? But it's very, very pretty, and I like it very much. And maybe one of these days I will actually like it enough to put it up on Christmas instead of the gold one. It will forever stay with me, that much is for sure. One thing I can tell you about my grandma, and I think this is a post-World War II thing, she never wastes anything. So every tiny scrap of fabric gets turned into something, and not all of it is pretty. But all of it is creative, and it's just amazing what she does, even with the tiniest bit of fabrics. I mean, these back there, that is maybe a 10 centimeter square, and then she put all that around it. Here she got very creative with cutting what was left. It's also another one I think is a very fun one. And even these leftovers, they are not going to get thrown out. No, sir. These are all the same silver design, like the big blanket I just showed you. Just the middle fabric varies a bit. So this one is a blank one. This is a completely different one. And this is the one with the silver thread in it. So nothing goes to waste. These two are the two I got with the very first blanket she made for me. Also, again, leftovers. She still had some of the yarn left over. She had some of the fabric left over. Probably more the fabric than the yarn, because this is one color she uses quite a lot. It's very neutral, but it's not white, so it's something that goes with a lot. And I love these. These look a bit like, I guess it's supposed to be hearts, but they also look a lot like pretzels. Yeah, these are the tiny things she gives you with the big blankets. And last but not least, if no fabric is left at all, but she still has a lot of yarn and doesn't know what to do with it, she will make something like this. And this one, I don't know how to crochet to save my own life. So to me, this looks really, really amazing. This is also one of the ones where you can see that she is now up in age and no longer completely at the level she used to be, because she made a lot of mistakes in this one. But it makes it even more special to me. Especially because I still remember when she taught me how to cover up mistakes. It's basically iron it until no one can see it any longer. Has been a running gag ever since. Yeah, so that's all I have of that kind of stuff she does. But I thought I would share that with you, because it, at least me, amazes me every single time. Because, like I said, I can't crochet to save my life. I guess the people among you who actually know how to crochet are not that impressed, but who cares? I am. Anyway, guys, I hope this second try turns out better. I thought splitting it into clips instead of trying to navigate the camera, the cat and the blankets all at the same time would help. Yeah. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so. You can hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload new videos, and you can also leave me a comment below. I love getting those and reading all your feedback, or you can drop me an email. The email address is in the information box below. Until then, guys, I wish you a wonderful day and fun with whatever you're doing right now, and we will talk to each other very, very soon. Bye bye.